On September 11, 2001, the world witnessed an event that would change history forever. But was it really the tragic terrorist attack we've all been told? Or could there be more to the story than meets the eye? In this video, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial topics of the 21st century, the theory that 9/11 was not just the work of terrorists, but possibly a government operation. From strange coincidences to unanswered questions, we'll break down the 10 reasons why some believe the attacks were orchestrated by those in power. Could the world's most catastrophic event be part of a much larger agenda? Stay tuned as we explore the hidden side of 9/11. Let's take a closer look at what happened on that fateful day, and the theories that still spark debate to this day. 1. Collapse of WTC-7. World Trade Center 7 was not hit by a plane, yet it collapsed in a manner resembling controlled demolition. The official explanation states that fires, fueled by office materials and debris from the Twin Towers, caused structural failure. However, skeptics argue that no steel-framed skyscraper had ever collapsed solely due to fire before. The building fell symmetrically into its own footprint at near free-fall speed, which is often associated with controlled demolitions. Additionally, reports of explosions heard before the collapse and statements from individuals like Larry Silverstein, who mentioned pulling the building, interpreted by some as an order to demolish it, further fuel speculation. Critics also point to the presence of important government offices inside WTC-7, including the SEC and CIA, suggesting a potential motive to destroy sensitive evidence. It's really sketch, especially, since the building literally designed to survive if a plane crashed into it. 2. Speed of Twin Towers collapse. The Twin Towers collapsed at nearly free-fall speed, which many argue is inconsistent with a gravity-driven structural failure. The official explanation attributes the collapse to a combination of intense fires weakening the steel and the impact of the planes causing structural damage. However, skeptics argue that fire alone has never caused a steel-framed skyscraper to collapse so completely and symmetrically. Controlled demolitions typically remove structural supports to allow for such rapid collapse, and some claim that the tower's sudden, uniform descent suggests pre-planted explosives or thermite. Additionally, videos show debris being ejected laterally at high speeds, which conspiracy theorists argue is characteristic of explosive charges rather than a pancaking effect. Reports of molten metal found in the rubble weeks later further fuel suspicions, as jet fuel burns at a lower temperature than is required to liquefy steel. These anomalies lead some to believe that additional forces, beyond just fire and impact, were involved in the destruction of the towers. 3. NORAD stand down. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, is responsible for intercepting hijacked planes, yet on September 11, it failed to stop any of the 4 hijacked aircraft. Official reports claim that the attacks happened too quickly for an effective response, and that NORAD was unprepared for a scenario involving multiple simultaneous hijackings within U.S. airspace. However, skeptics argue that standard procedures for intercepting off-course planes had been followed successfully many times before, often within minutes. The fact that no military jets intercepted the hijacked planes raises suspicions that a deliberate, stand-down, order was given. Additionally, it was later revealed that multiple war games were being conducted that morning, including drills simulating hijacked planes, which some believe created confusion and delayed the response. Conspiracy theorists question whether these war games were intentionally scheduled to create a smokescreen, preventing a timely interception. Furthermore, key figures such as then Vice President Dick Cheney were reportedly in a command bunker, with some testimonies suggesting he was aware of an incoming threat but took no action to stop it. These factors contribute to the theory that NORAD's inaction was not incompetence, but intentional. 4. Insider trading. In the days leading up to 9/11, an unusual amount of put options, bets that a stock will decrease in value, were placed on American Airlines and United Airlines, the 2 airlines whose planes were hijacked. This led to speculation that certain individuals had prior knowledge of the attacks and sought to profit from the resulting stock market crash. The official explanation dismisses these transactions as coincidental, with the 9/11 Commission stating that no direct link to al-Qaeda or government officials was found. However, skeptics argue that the volume of put options was abnormally high and concentrated among a few financial institutions, raising questions about foreknowledge. Additionally, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, launched an investigation into these trades but never publicly released all findings, further fueling suspicions. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the profits from these trades were quietly ignored or covered up to prevent exposure of those who might have had advance warning. The idea that powerful individuals or intelligence agencies could have known about the attacks and capitalized on them financially remains a key point in theories suggesting government complicity. 5. Airplane exploded, but the fuel cannot explode. The impact of the hijacked planes caused massive fireballs, leading many to believe there was an explosion beyond just the burning jet fuel. The official explanation states that the fireballs were caused by the rapid ignition of jet fuel upon impact, but skeptics argue that jet fuel alone cannot produce explosions of that magnitude. Jet fuel burns rather than detonates, meaning it should have created a large fire but not a powerful explosion. Additionally, eyewitnesses reported hearing secondary explosions before and after the plane impacts, suggesting the presence of additional explosive devices. Some engineers and demolition experts have pointed out that the force of the explosion seen in footage of the tower's impacts resembles the effects of high explosives rather than just burning fuel. Furthermore, reports of molten metal found in the wreckage suggest that extremely high temperatures, beyond what burning jet fuel could produce, were present, leading to speculation that thermite or other incendiary materials were used. These anomalies contribute to the theory that pre-planted explosives played a role in the destruction, rather than just the impact and resulting fires from the airplanes. 6. Lack of fighter jet response. Standard U.S. air defense protocols dictate that if a commercial airplane goes off course or stops responding to air traffic control, fighter jets are scrambled within minutes to intercept it. However, on September 11, none of the hijacked planes were intercepted before they hit their targets. The official explanation claims that the attacks were unprecedented and caused confusion, and that NORAD was not prepared to handle hijackings within domestic airspace. However, skeptics point out that in the years before September 11, fighter jets had been scrambled dozens of times in response to minor airspace violations, often within 10 to 15 minutes. The failure to intercept even one of the 4 hijacked planes raises questions about whether military response was intentionally delayed. 7. Passports surviving fireball. In the aftermath of the attacks, authorities claim to have found passports belonging to some of the hijackers in the rubble near the World Trade Center. This discovery was presented as evidence of the identities of the attackers. However, skeptics argue that it is highly improbable for paper passports to survive the extreme conditions of the crash, fireball, and subsequent building collapse, especially when the plane's black boxes, designed to withstand high-impact crashes, were reportedly destroyed. The official explanation suggests that the passports may have been ejected from the planes upon impact before the fires consumed everything inside. However, conspiracy theorists find this explanation questionable, arguing that the odds of multiple passports surviving while most of the plane and its passengers were completely destroyed defy logic. Some go further, suggesting that the passports were intentionally planted to create a convenient narrative about the attackers. Additionally, critics point out that similar passport discoveries have been used in past terror incidents to quickly identify suspects, which raises suspicions about whether such evidence is too convenient to be legitimate. This anomaly remains a key point for those who believe the official story was manipulated or staged. 8. Project for the New American Century, PNAC. In 2000, a think tank called the Project for the New American Century, PNAC, published a document titled Rebuilding America's Defenses, which outlined a vision for American dominance in the 21st century. The document called for a substantial military buildup, the development of new technologies, and the assertion of American influence globally. A notable line from the report suggested that the U.S. needed a new Pearl Harbor to galvanize public support for these ambitions and to overcome political and institutional resistance. Conspiracy theorists point to this document as evidence that some influential members of the U.S. government may have had a strategic interest in provoking a major event, like 9/11, to justify military intervention in the Middle East and to secure long-term geopolitical and economic dominance. The fact that several prominent figures associated with the PNAC, including Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, and Paul Wolfowitz, went on to hold key positions in the Bush administration during and after September 11, has fueled suspicions that the attacks were part of a larger plan to achieve these objectives. 9. Unanswered questions in the 9/11 Commission report. Critics of the official narrative point to numerous unanswered questions in the 9/11 Commission report, which many believe failed to fully investigate key issues. For example, some inconsistencies in testimonies from key witnesses and gaps in the timeline of events have raised doubts. Additionally, the Commission was unable to access certain crucial information, such as classified intelligence and data from certain government agencies, which some believe were deliberately withheld. These omissions and the limited scope of the investigation have led to suspicions that the Commission may have been influenced or obstructed by powerful interests, and that the full truth of 9/11 has never been revealed. 10. Motive for war. The attacks on September 11 provided a clear pretext for the U.S. to initiate military interventions in the Middle East, particularly in Afghanistan and Iraq. Critics argue that these wars, which resulted in significant geopolitical and economic benefits for the U.S., including access to oil resources and expanded military presence, were the ultimate goal for certain government factions. The U.S. military-industrial complex, along with defense contractors, gained lucrative contracts as a result. Some conspiracy theorists believe the attacks were used to justify these wars, which aligned with long-standing American strategic interests in the region. The speed with which the U.S. moved to launch military campaigns after September 11, and the lack of evidence linking Iraq to the attacks, raises suspicions that the wars were planned long before the events of that day. Conclusion: whether you believe in the official story or think there's more to the events of 9/11 than we've been told, one thing is certain: the questions will persist, and the search for the truth will continue. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries that shape our world. Bye-bye.